Grand Forks is a city in the Boundary Country of the West Kootenay region of British Columbia. It is located at the confluence of the Granby and Kettle Rivers. The Kettle River is a tributary of the Columbia River. The city is just north of the Canada-US border. The closest border crossing is about 8 kilometers or 5 miles west of Grand Forks, approximately 500 kilometers or 310 miles from Vancouver, 200 kilometers or 120 miles from Kelowna, and 23 kilometers or 14 miles west of the resort area of Christina Lake.
From time immemorial, Indigenous peoples have been stewards of this land. In 1894, a new settlement at the North Fork Bridge, where the rivers join, was called Grand Forks. The valley, dominated by copper mining, was called Grand Prairie. Early settlers used both names for the town. The city was laid out in 1895, and Grand Forks became a city in 1897. By 1902, Grand Forks had 3 railways, lumber mills, and mines, as well as a smelter, post office, school, and hospital. The most recent official population for Grand Forks is from the 2021 census. It reported a population of 4,112. Major industries are limited, and during the past decade have become smaller with the loss of some of them. Currently in Grand Forks, logging, agriculture, rock wool manufacturing, and metal fabrication are the main economic drivers. Tourism has declined, likely due to a lack of attractions.
The short line Grand Forks Railway is based out of Grand Forks. The company owns 3.7 miles or 6 kilometers of track, which connects Roxville and Interfor with the Grand Forks Junction at the south end of town. It is the shortest railway in Canada. Train cars then get sent to the US via the Kettle Valley International Railway. Wildlife in Grand Forks area includes deer, elk, moose, bears, coyotes, badgers, mountain goats, rattlesnakes, gopher snakes, a variety of birds like eagles and herons, waterfowl like mallards and Canada geese, as well as forest birds such as downy woodpeckers and Steller's jays.
Based in Grand Forks, the Grand Forks Border Bruins are a junior ice hockey team. They are members of the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League, known as the KIJHL. Home games are played at the Jack Goddard Memorial Arena. The Border Bruins joined the KIJHL in 1969. In April 2025, the Border Bruins became the first team in the KIJHL history to win the President's Cup, Kootenay Conference, Tech Cup, and Mowat Cup in a single playoff run. Grand Forks has a humid continental climate. Summers are short, warm, dry, and partly cloudy. Daytime highs during the summer often top 30 degrees Celsius or 86 Fahrenheit and surpass 40 Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit at least once every few years. Night temperatures often fall rapidly, especially in summer. Overnight frost is rare, but not unheard of in June or September. Winter temperatures are moderate, but freezing, snowy, and mostly cloudy. Some years bring only light snowfalls with intermittent snow cover. Others bring large snowstorms with snow cover from December to March.
In September 1914, the officer commanding the INDCO rifles at Grand Forks received a communique from the district officer commanding Military District No. 11 in Victoria, informing him no person shall navigate or be carried in an aircraft except under stringent regulations. After the conclusion of the First World War in 1919, many returning Canadian flyers of the Royal Flying Corps and Royal Navy Air Service wanted to continue with their newfound love of flight. Branches of the Aerial League of Canada sprang up in major cities across the nation. Their main thrust was to encourage aviation. The Vancouver branch of the Aerial League decided to attempt a record-breaking flight from Vancouver to Calgary, the first ever flight across the Canadian Rockies. Captain Ernest C. Hoy took off south of Vancouver on August 7, 1919, flying across the Coast Mountains and landing in Vernon to refuel.
The following day, he went on to the Okanagan Valley and followed the Kettle Valley Railway. He arrived over Grand Forks mid-morning, landing on the Columbia Flats near the West Grand Forks Post Office. The post office flag was raised. 5 bells sounded at the fire hall. A large crowd had formed to watch Hoy refuel. Resounding applause accompanied his takeoff for Cranbrook and Calgary. Meanwhile, another aircraft flew by, and Lieutenant Ernest Hall circled overhead before leaving for Canyon City, known today as Creston. Hall's wife was at the Hotel Winnipeg in Grand Forks, anticipating his return from Calgary. But Hall's aircraft crashed on takeoff at Canyon City, ending his role in the race. Hall was not injured.
On September 22, 1919, Lieutenant George K. Trim left Vancouver en route to Nelson, where he was to perform for the city's fall fair. Trim overnighted at Penticton, then flew to Grand Forks, arriving shortly after 11 a.m., where he gave an exhibition of his flying skills before landing to refuel. The mayor of Grand Forks declared a civic and school holiday in honor of the occasion. Trim left Grand Forks at 1:45 p.m., carrying unofficial mail from Grand Forks to dignitaries in Nelson, as well as a letter from the editor of the Grand Forks Gazette.
In the fall of 1928, squadron leader A.T. Cowley RCAF from Jericho Beach Air Station at Vancouver visited Grand Forks to inspect sites for an airport. The community was later advised by Member of Parliament Grote Sterling that a license would be issued for the Grand Forks Air Harbor. This was the first official license for a community in the southern interior, and after Vancouver and Victoria, the third valid license in the province. The official opening would be on May 9th, 1929. The newly licensed Grand Forks Air Harbor was just north of the city on grounds later occupied by the Hutton School. The runway ran west to east, parallel to and north of Highway number 3.
The first visiting aircraft was flown by Lieutenant C.E. Forbes of the National Guard at Spokane, Washington. Many more aircraft from the United States would follow. Not one Canadian aircraft took part, although the invitation had been sent. On May 26, 1929, Major Tudhope from the Civil Aviation Branch of the Department of Defense in Canada arrived at the Grand Forks Air Harbor. He had flown from Cranbrook in 1 hour and 20 minutes at 9,000 feet. Tuddy was flying a Pitcairn Mail Wing GCYXJ. Tudhope inspected the airport facilities, declaring them to be excellent.
Tuddy said the landing field was so good he would recommend that 2 tri-motors en route to the coast, a BC Airways Ford and a Western Canada Airways Fokker, both stop at Grand Forks to refuel. On June 7, 1929, executives of the Johns Manville Corporation of New York arrived from Seattle in the company's Stinson Jr. They were to meet with Cominco officials from Trail, BC. On July 25, 1929, a Fokker tri-motor passed through Grand Forks en route from Vancouver to Calgary. This aircraft from Los Angeles carried 5 passengers in luxurious comfort.
On June 23, 1931, the Grand Forks Gazette advised that 20 aircraft would be arriving. These aircraft were participating in the Trans-Canada Air Pageant and were performing across the country. They would appear on July 20th as invited by the Board of Trade. They arrived and performed as scheduled. 21 planes were present, including those on the tour and visitors from US and Canada. The largest was a tri-motor Ford. The most unusual was a Pitcairn Autogyra with a British Cerro Cloud amphibian creating much interest. About a week later, the air pageant again landed at Grand Forks to refuel on the return trip eastward.
As part of the unemployment relief scheme, single unemployed men were improving the site of the Grand Forks Airfield. Early in September 1934, Canada's Controller of Civil Aviation arrived to inspect their progress. In 1937, Grant McConaughey, who was president of Yukon Southern Air Transport and later Canadian Pacific Airways, flew into Grand Forks from Calgary. McConaughey was flying his Ford Trimotor 6 ATS CF BEP. McConaughey invited the city's mayor, Tom Love, and his wife to accompany him to Vancouver.
In June 1937, a radio range station was completed at Carson, later known as Creston, as part of the Trans-Canada Airways route from Lethbridge to Vancouver. However, its position did not prove functional. Two new stations at higher elevations were created at Carmi and Crescent Valley. The Grand Forks Range was then moved to Penticton. On September 17, 1943, an RCAF Bolingbrook number 9032 flew over Grand Forks Airport in a photographic survey of airports along the route between Lethbridge and Vancouver. The Grand Forks Airport was not used much during the war years. In 1946, it was relocated south of Highway number 3.
The Grand Forks Flying Club was organized at this new location with Wes Dockstetter as instructor. The club bought a new 1946 Taylorcraft CFDWB. Dockstetter organized Border Airways Limited. In April 1947, he bought a 1942 DH-82C Tiger Moth, which he operated as a crop sprayer and duster. The city relocated the airport to its current location in 1970. The City of Grand Forks owns and operates the municipal airport located on 2nd Street, 1 nautical mile south-southeast of the city. The airport has terminal facilities and offers aircraft fuel for sale. Facilities include a 4,300-foot runway with 2 taxiways and aprons. There are numerous private hangars on the city-owned property under lease agreements. Space is available for more hangars. The Grand Forks Airport code is ZGF.